What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Up and In Show daily. Sorry that it's a little late. Had to get it out there for you guys, though. We're committed to this thing. Again, my life is all over the place, but again, committed to this, committed to being positive and sharing and reflecting, and committed to connecting with people, right? And being real and vulnerable. So yeah, a lot of moving parts today, and started early. Had a phone call at 7:30 this morning with Jordy Hultberg out in for ESPN Lafayette. So that was really cool. We're actually going to share that episode or that clip here. So what I'm going to do is going to be a little quicker episode. I'm going to go over what I read in chapter or for the third agreement in my 4 agreements book. We're going to share that positive message and affirmation for the day. Then I'm going to cut to my banter with Jordy Hultberg a little bit. You guys are going to get to hear me on the radio and see how I do my thing and chop it up about LSU Baseball. They have a really big weekend series coming up against Arkansas. I'm assuming their game got rained out tonight. We talked a little bit about that and the strategy behind midweek games and everything. But again, if you want some insight into college baseball and who I think is maybe one of the best college baseball teams out there this year, that's coming up. It's about 15 to 20 minutes, something like that. Then I'm going to get into a few picks today, very, very quick, rapid fire, because games are about to start. They're showing Kyle Finnegan on there. He got me a save for my fantasy today. They're about to do a doubleheader. But let's jump into it, guys. Today, I read in my book the third agreement in the 4 agreements, and it's don't make any assumptions. And this one is really another transformational one for me because assuming things is really the devil, right? It really is. And the way that Don Miguel Ruiz talks about it in the book is more on the lines of the beliefs that you have, and it comes back down to the learned behavior, right? And this domestication of the human and the dream, right? So this one here talks a lot about assumptions and believing what you think. And so if you think something and then you believe it, you've made an assumption about somebody, and you're assuming they're feeling the same you are because of the way that you think, right? And you think because they're doing something that they must be feeling something because that's how you feel, and that's what he's talking about when he says assumptions, right? So I want to read a little bit of an excerpt from it, just kind of the end, right? That I always like to read the end of the chapters. Usually there's like a little dog ear that I do, but this chapter was very quick. It's quick and gets right to the point. But at the end here, it says, "This then is the third agreement. Don't make assumptions." Just saying this sounds easy, but I understand that it's difficult to do. It's difficult because we so often do the exact opposite. We all have these habits and routines that we're not even aware of. Being aware of these habits and understanding the importance of this agreement is the first step. But understanding its importance is not enough. Information or an idea is merely the seed in your mind. What will really make the difference is action. Taking the action over and over again strengthens your will, nurtures the seed, and establishes a solid foundation for the new habit to grow. After many repetitions, these new agreements will become second nature, and you'll see how the magic of your word transforms you from a black magician into a white magician. A white magician uses the word for creation, giving, sharing, and loving. By making this one agreement a habit, your whole life will be completely transformed. When you transform your whole dream, magic just happens in your life. What you need comes to you easily because spirit moves freely through you. This is mastery of intent, the mastery of the spirit, the mastery of love, the mastery of gratitude, and the mastery of life. This is the goal of the Toltec. This is the path to personal freedom. So again, guys, let's not make assumptions. Understand that you were taught things, right? You have the power to disassociate those thoughts and that learned behavior and those learned ways. You have an ability to think for yourself and make assumptions by yourself, right? So make those assumptions based on creativity and freedom and what ifs, right? And I think that's what he's really talking about is let's not assume that everything is universal. Everything is the same for everyone. Let's assume that everybody has different experiences because then everything is not so personal, which goes back to the second agreement, right? And then the first agreement of losing what you were taught and what you are thought to believe, right? And beliefs and faith, right? And that kind of stuff. So hopefully you guys take that message. Hopefully it makes sense. And hopefully it gives you a little bit of insight into, that Toltec mindset and relieving the mitote of all the noise in our minds and brings you back to love and personal joy and happiness. But now, guys, I'm going to cut to that piece talking about LSU Baseball with Jordy and ESPN Lafayette. And then after that, about 20 minutes, we're going to get into my picks of the day.
16 years ago yesterday. 16 years ago yesterday. struck out 15 Auburn Tigers, the most strikeouts by an LSU pitcher in an SEC game. It was equaled a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, by Paul Skeens, who had 15 strikeouts in a 3-zip win over Auburn. So Auburn seems to have suffered the wrath of Paul Skeens and our LSU insider, Mr. Anthony Ranaudo. Anthony, can you believe 16 years ago yesterday? Can you believe that?
No, I don't want to believe it. So no, I can't believe it. I don't want to believe it. I don't think it is. And, so it's not 16 years in my mind. No.
You remember that night, though. Did you have a feeling in warm-ups? Or were you, sometimes you warm up poorly and then you pitch great. Sometimes you warm up great, you pitch great. Do you remember that night and how you felt?
You want to know something funny? Coach Maneri and I actually talk about this story a lot. I don't really remember how I felt in the bullpen too much, but I do remember that I threw 6 balls to start the game. And Coach Maneri, and I mean, they were balls that were not even close to the zone. I'm not talking like, I'm just missing. Maybe the umpire is like, busting my balls a little bit. I don't know. But like it was, I'm misfiring balls. Coach Maneri runs out to the mound after the 6th pitch and has, what's going on? What's going on? And I was like, I don't know, Coach. I can't feel the ball. And he just looks at me and he goes, well, and he might have mixed in a choice word in there, but he said, we'll start feeling it. And then he just ran away. And I was like, all right. And I looked at Micah and then I struck out the side after that. I forget what it was, but I walked like the bases loaded something and I struck out the side. It was crazy, dude. So I actually did not start off great, but I wound up having the game of my life after that and settled down. I do remember coming off the field and being like, that was electric and just felt like I was floating for about 7 innings.
It's pretty awesome. 15 strikeouts. Ooh,
yeah.
That's pretty awesome. All right, so just be honest. You're a ball player. You've been through all this time and time again. This is game number, you've played 49 games now. You got a big series coming up against Arkansas Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Weather looks iffy tonight at best. The worst thing I would think that LSU baseball needs is to have Grambling State come into town, the rains come and you wait, and you start a game like at 9:30 at night. That seems to me to be the worst thing possible. Is it such a bad idea to say, look, the weather's bad, let's just call this thing off and let's get off our feet, forget about baseball for a day? Would that be a bad thing? No,
definitely not a bad thing. And especially when the scenario that you painted, if that could come to fruition. And Jay is usually really, really sharp about that. He's really in tune with the weather, and he definitely makes decisions based on that. He's actually, and again, those to me are like one of the little things that coaches are really good at, and they understand, right? Not wasting a pitch. You kind of saw it in the Tennessee series, right? There was a weird way that a couple of their pitchers didn't get to pitch or weren't going to pitch because of weather on the weekend. So, yeah, no, I think that definitely plays into things. And then when you're coming off a loss, off a weekend and then going into another huge weekend, like sometimes, yeah, you just want to rest and relax a little bit, lick your wounds and get back to the drawing board. So Jay will know what's up. And obviously weather is weather, dude. We never know. It's the best job in the world if you have the weather job. You can, it comes and goes, and that's the way it is. So we'll see what happens.
All right, now, not to put you on the spot, but you mentioned Jay Johnson. We've got a poll question out there. I want to know your thoughts on this. So, Blake, let Anthony Ranaudo know our poll question of the day, please.
Absolutely, Mr. Jordy. So, Anthony, today's poll question is, does Jay Johnson adjust the LSU lineup too much? Yes, no, or sometimes.
What's so funny is I do think a little bit. If I were a manager, I'm more of this is our lineup for the most part. But I do know, I think it's more of a new age thing, and maybe it's an analytics thing because I'm probably going to date myself. We talk about 16 years playing, right? I think it's a little bit more of an old school approach. But yeah, I like more of a consistent lineup. So I wouldn't say too much because I think Jay's a great coach. So that's where I'm like, what do I know? Obviously. But for me, I'm more of a consistent. I like my lineup. I know where my guys are hitting, and that's me. What's the consensus so far, though?
Explain this to me, all right? You're a starting pitcher. You're a right-hander. You throw against right-handed batters. You throw against left-handed batters. You go through. And if you're pitching good and strong like Anthony Ianson did on Saturday pitches a complete game. Why is it that managers start playing these lefty versus righty when you come out of the bullpen? And they do it. They'll get a guy out. They'll throw 3 strikes, strike him out. Oh, here comes another batter, and we got to get you out because it's not lefty righty. I don't understand that. Explain it to me. Why do we have to do that all the time?
Yeah, and nowadays with analytics, I guess, and that's the thing that's weird. It's just a big calculated risk, really. I mean, people are looking at numbers and saying this left-handed batter gets out 37% of the time versus righties, blah, 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 right? And they're just crunching numbers. And then Jay is saying, hey, this guy out of our bullpen is throwing the ball really well right now. This is the right situation at the right time. We got to get him in there. And the numbers back it up, right? So it really just depends on the situation and then the coach's feel. So, but honestly, I tend to lean towards liking matchups better and like pitchers and their stuff. So when I was pitching, right, like it didn't matter if it was righty or lefty for me because I actually had better numbers against lefties because the way that I was able to use my fastball and my curveball to go against cross plane. So I actually felt more comfortable against lefties. So I know there's relievers that feel that way too as righties, and sometimes their strikeout stuff matches up better, and maybe that's the way it is, in certain matchups, left on left and everything, and that's what the coaches think, too. So it really just depends, and again, I always say like they must have stuff that we don't know about because sometimes it doesn't make sense to me either.
Yeah, it seems very complicated to me. The guy gets you out and is on a roll. Let him keep going. I'm not a baseball coach. Never pretended to be one. Yeah. One thing I do know is numbers. When LSU is on offense. And some games they're great, sometimes they're not. They had 14, they only scored 7 runs against A&M, and A&M started 3 left-handers. LSU was a .214 batting average in 84 at-bats against Texas A&M. That was actually an improvement from the last week when LSU was 3 for 36 against Tennessee left-handers. Go back a little bit further. Alabama and Auburn against Auburn. They go 7 for 33 and 7 for 39 against the Southpaws from Alabama and Auburn. So for some reason, LSU can't seem to hit left-handers. What's up with that?
Jordy, I don't know what it is with LSU baseball, but it seems like a little bit of a curse. And like I find myself, in a lot of seasons saying that sometimes LSU teams struggle with left-handed pitchers. We struggled in 2009 when we won the championship against left-handed pitchers, and we knew we were going to get crafty lefties in the postseason. Teams that, guys that were their 4th or 5th pitchers, they would start them in postseason games to try to just throw us off our game. So I don't know what it is, honestly, but that's where it's like, if you have good pitching like LSU does this year, they had Cade Anderson, he struck out 12 guys, Ianson struck out 14 and threw a CG, right? And actually going back to your point too, like to all the analytics, I do want to shout out to Jay Johnson showing a little love for the starting pitching and letting Ianson finish that complete game, because that was the right thing, and he absolutely stayed with him. So I love that. But that's what, I mean, sometimes when you have a hole in your game a little bit, like left-handed pitchers, you know what? That means your starters just got to be that much better. And so LSU has that little bit of that concoction, but if they can throw the ball the way they do and then, bridge it to the end of the game, I think, they have a good solution still.
You're trying to win the series. You've got to lead, and you bring your best reliever in college baseball this season in Zach Cowan. It's a fickle game. Sometimes you get the best of, sometimes they get the best of you. He threw strikes, but his changeup fastball combo wasn't enough to fool the A&M hitters. Over the weekend, they had 5 hits, 2 for extra bases against him. So that's baseball, right? Sometimes you get the better of them. Sometimes they get the better of you. I'm not hanging my head on Zach Cowan. He's too good. Too good. You said it. It's our game, man. It's a funny game, like you said. He got both losses, I think, both this weekend, right? And just tough luck sometimes. And the kid is a stud. And now this is one of those times that we're going to face a little adversity, and he's going to learn how to bounce back, and he's got it, because as a reliever, you have to have a short memory.
and baseball too, right? And also, let's not forget that Texas A&M is a really good team too. So, they were preseason number one, and anytime you lose your coaches after you go to the national championship game, that's a tough thing to bounce back from. So, sometimes that's our game, and it's a long season for a reason. So, more important how he bounces back against Arkansas.
Other than the bullpen was actually pretty good over the weekend. One of the best performances we've seen. LSU's got some tall pitchers, and this Maverick Rizzi played very, very well.
I love that kid.
Across the board, this team would be phenomenal. But of course, every coach for every team would say that.
Exactly.
That Rizzi pretty good.
Oh, I love that kid, man. He's a Northeast boy. We've talked about him a few times, and he might be that guy that we've talked about now where out of the bullpen he emerges, right? You saw him come in on the Friday night game and get some important outs to keep us in the game. Like, that's a really big role, and for him to come in as a freshman and for me as a big guy too, right? I always kind of show a lot of love to other big guys that can control their body and throw the ball 100 miles an hour, and I think as a true freshman to be able to do that, to have that poise, to have that body control, I'm excited to see his career develop for sure. So yeah, it's fun when he's on the mound.
They had to use the bullpen a lot. Right, freshman Kason Evans lasted just 3 1/3. I'm sure they were hoping that he could gobble up maybe 6 innings, and then that would set up the rotation. But it's a fickle game. You never know. So now, here comes Arkansas, fresh off of a sweep. Still, I don't know how Texas is still ranked number 1 in the country, but they are.
Yeah, I saw that. That was wild. Yeah, you get swept and you stay number 1. That is crazy.
They get swept and wasn't even close.
Yeah.
Arkansas's come hot and heavy, and they've got a guy in Jaden Root, who's the co-SEC pitcher of the week along with Anthony Iacon. So you're going to see 2 of the better pitchers come up this weekend. So Arkansas's on a roll, man. They're pretty good too.
This is going to be a huge one. Arkansas always plays us well at home too. You know that, right? They beat Skeens here, I think, or they played Skeens really well, and it was a weird rain out, but a couple years ago. So yeah, they're going to be, and those boys are going to be fired up coming off a sweep against Texas. Yeah, absolutely. And that they didn't budge in the rankings, that's wild. So yeah, LSU's got to be ready. They're going to be, Arkansas is going to be ready, and it's going to be a good one at the box. So I think that's going to be a really fun series. Wow, back to back with Tennessee and Arkansas at home. Wow, that's fun.
LSU lost the series. They only fell 1 spot from 2 to 3. So this SEC baseball, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams in the top 25. 10 in the top 25. It's just mind-boggling.
It really is. It's such a strong conference. I mean, don't sleep on Vanderbilt. And then the teams that are out of it are never really out of it either, too. If they win a couple, 2 weekend series at the end and have a good SEC tournament, you never know who could get hot at the end and sneak into a regional. You saw that with Mississippi State a couple years ago. So it really is the best conference in the country, especially with adding Texas and Oklahoma. But yeah, postseason is going to be really fun. I'm excited for these boys.
You gotta keep winning games. It's plain and simple. But because you want that national seed. And that's the main thing. You're 38-11 overall, and in the SEC, you're right now in third place, 15-9, tied for 3rd place in the league with Georgia, Texas in the lead, followed by Arkansas. So you get a chance. Boy, you win 2 out of 3 against Arkansas based upon what they did last weekend.
Yep.
If you can get 2 out of 3, your RPI is going to go up, and I think 2 out of 3 this weekend. Man, that makes it virtually impossible for LSU not to get a national top 8 seed, in my opinion. You know more than I. What do you think?
I agree. That's what I was going to say. You take 2 out of 3 this weekend, and then you have a decent showing in game 1 or 2 in the SEC tournament, and just don't go 2 in Q or whatever. I don't know the new format, but if they take 2 out of 3 and if they sweep and had a great weekend, I think it's solid that they're hosting. They're in a great position. Anytime that you're in a position where you can get 18 to 20 wins in the SEC. and especially the strength of that conference this year, you're gonna be in a position to host. So I just don't know if the committee is gonna let like 6 teams host or be national seeds. That's gonna be crazy. So that's where you want to be, in the top 4 ideally. So if they can put together a couple good weekends and then even a better showing. I know Jay's not crazy about like going hard at the SEC tournament, but that's where if you get one of those higher national seeds, you don't have to worry about being on the cusp and like little politics like that playing into it.
Rain forecast, 40% at 5, 45% at 6, 50% at 7, at 8, at 9, and at 10. To me, I'm making the call. Hey, Grambling, look, we'll pay you a little bit, but y'all stay back home, and we're going to take this off. But we'll see. Some coaches love to play, especially after a loss. They like to get that bad juju out of their feelings and beat up on a team that they're so much better than, to give you some more confidence going. I don't know. I personally like to take the day off. That's just me. That's my thought. But we shall see what happens. But 16 years ago, 15 Ks against Auburn. Anthony Ranaudo. Man, how many fastballs? What was the percentage of fastballs and other pitches in that day?
Man, I bet you I only threw a handful of changeups. I was probably throwing a lot of elevated fastballs at the top of the zone and getting swings and misses. That was a good Auburn team, too. They had 2 first-rounders that year, and I remember that weekend because we had to beat them 2 out of 3. It was one of the last weekends like this where it was putting us in a position to be a national seed, almost like exactly what I just said. We had to. That weekend, I think, was the second to last one that put us in a position to win the West and win the overall, or we won a share of it. So fastball was good that night. I was up to like 97, 98, throwing curveballs. I was feeling myself. That was one of those ones I was yelling off the mound and yelling at batters to get in the box because it was inevitable that they were going to strike out. Yeah, I was feeling myself a little bit that night.
That's what makes it so much fun. Anthony, thank you so much for your time as always, buddy. That was great.
Always, Jordy.
Man, take care.
Have a good one. All right, guys, real quick. We are going to do a rundown of my picks. Again, make sure you guys are following me on Pickit. If you guys don't have Pickit, just make sure you go grab that, Pikkit. It is an app that allows you to track all your bets. It allows you to follow your favorite handicappers, your favorite sports bettors, your favorite sports influencers, and they put them out in real time. And so I'll be doing that. So today, all of my picks on Pickit, we're going over 1.5 total bases for Alex Bregman. The man is on fire, batting over 400 in his last 7. Also has some great career stats against Nathan Eovaldi. The Red Sox are kind of hot. They're playing well, and I like their lineup. So hits, runs, RBIs is in play, but also this just takes a double off the wall for Bregman, so I like this. It's at plus 115. I did a little sprinkle on some stolen bases. Hyun Kim for the Dodgers just got called up. He's a KBO superstar. If you guys paid any attention the other night, he absolutely destroyed the bases and then had a nice game yesterday in his first career start, 2 for 4, and had another bag. So I'm taking him for plus or 1 stolen base at plus 252. I am going to parlay that with Shohei stolen bases. Cal Quantrill is very slow to the plate. Shohei stole a base off him, I think 5 days ago or 8 days ago whenever they played the Marlins. So I like that, and I parlayed that to get you to plus 841 on FanDuel. I like that little sprinkle there. FanDuel is also doing its Tuesday Dingers parlay. You get a plus 50% profit boost. I'm only put a little sprinkle, $10. Kyle Stowers, I think. I don't know. But one of the biggest improvements in baseball for hard hit rate and barrel rate. The dude is leading the league, I think, in, I guess Aaron Judge is, but he's second in the league in batting average and hits. He's also made a nice jump in homers. I think he's got 6 or 7 on the year, so I'm taking him for a home run. He is facing Tony Gonsolin tonight. He has some nice career numbers. Gonsolin is on his second career, start since 2023, and the first one didn't go super pretty, so I am going to parlay that with Corey Seager for home runs. So I'm going to put $10 to win $500 on my home run profit boost parlay. Corey Seager also has some good numbers against who's pitching for the Red Sox. Blanking on the Red Sox starter right now. But Corey Seager also, since he got traded or since he signed with the Rangers, bats .430 at Fenway, has a couple homers in 9 games. If you look at all of his numbers, he went 0 for 3, or he went in 3 games, he went hitless when he was with the Dodgers, going 0 for 9 against the Red Sox. So you throw that out the equation. Since he's been with the Rangers, he does damage at Fenway. I like my chances there. He's coming off the DL or the IL. He's batting .333 in his last 7. Also, I'm taking Elly for stolen bases. Hasn't had a stolen base in a little while. He's only got 2 in his last week, which is light for him. Chris Sale has allowed 20 stolen bases in the last year, and he allows them at a 90% clip. He's my guy, but Elly is going to be looking to steal some bags tonight. It's plus 240 on Bet Rivers. I'm putting $35 on that. And then Phillies first 5 money line. Zach Wheeler is taking the bump against Tampa Bay. It's at Tampa Bay, but you got to take into consideration that that's where Tampa is where Philly has spring training. There are going to be a ton of Phillies fans there. Zach Wheeler is one of the best pitchers in the game. Give me him for the first 5 against a Tampa Bay team whose offense is still trying to figure it out and is definitely young and beat up a little bit. I like my chances there. Drew Rasmussen has been a little up and down this year. He does show some flashes and definitely has made some improvements with his stuff, but Schwarber's been hitting really well. Harper's heating up. That ball flies there. Any of those guys can clip one and get some homers early on. So I like Philly's first 5 money line. I'm throwing 0.75 units on that one. And that's it, guys. I lost my first one that I did early today with the Nats game. Daniel Schieneman, he got pinch hit for, scored a run in his first at bat, but then got pinch hit for later in the game, which really hurts because he's been batting like 400 in his last 7, batting second in their lineup. So liked my odds there, and they scored a bunch of runs, so felt like that would have hit. Noel, his pinch hitter, did get hit. He had hits, runs, RBIs today, so whatever. Happens. But yeah, guys, go check it out. Quick one today. Love you all. Thank you. Appreciate you guys being here. I'll be back tomorrow. Love y'all.